Welcome to the Vantage Performance podcast. I'm Phil Dobbie. Now, today, many businesses start with a clear focus. They set out to fill a gap in the market with a bright new idea that nobody's thought of. But after that initial success and enthusiasm, well, it can all diminish over time. Why? Well, Michael Fingland is back with me, CEO and founder of Vantage Performance. Michael, I guess companies get big, and as they get bigger, they lose their focus. They lose that early spirit, don't they?
Yeah, they do, Phil. Good morning. It's quite common, actually, when a business is set up by the founder or a group of people who founded the business. They have a very clear understanding of what they want to do, the big problem in their industry or even in the world that they're trying to solve. And it's very tangible, very palpable, and that ensures also that they attract the right type of people who are going to make that business successful, at least in the early days. And having that very clear why, as Simon Sinek puts it, or purpose or cause is one of the fundamental foundations to having a successful business and beating the odds, which is only 1 in 5 businesses succeed in the medium to long term. And as you say, it does get fuzzy as the business gets bigger. But there are some very simple techniques to be aware of and to sort of practice, whether you're already an established business and it has become a bit fuzzy, or whether you are in a startup mode and you want to make sure that you maintain the rage, so to speak.
Well, before we look at how you fix it, let's look at why it happens. What causes this? What causes this fuzziness? I mean, you get more people in, you get more ideas thrown around. I guess it gets harder to communicate that vision because you've got a bigger workforce. So I guess it's a combination of all of those things. But is there something else that I'm missing out there?
Yeah, there's a few key bits to it, but the fundamental reason is as the business gets bigger, the first few people that are hired into the business, maybe up to the first 20, the CEO has the time to actually do the hiring, the interviewing, and he or she is very good at articulating why they were passionate about this business, and it comes across in a really, really powerful way. But naturally, as the business gets bigger, if the CEO hasn't done a great job in instilling that into the next layer of management and down as the business gets bigger, it gets fuzzy, or it doesn't even get talked about, which is more often the case. As the business gets bigger, more people come in, and particularly if you've got a business that's growing really quickly and you're hiring maybe 10, 20, 100 people a week or a month, if you don't have that part of your recruitment process really down pat, the message never actually gets through. So you end up hiring people who actually aren't coming to the business to further that cause, which is what obviously the whole idea is. If you can get people who join you, who believe what you believe, you're going to have a much stronger business and a much stronger foundation. So it just gets diluted over time because I guess the baton as it's handed down isn't handed down and isn't followed through with as much enthusiasm as it was at the beginning.
I guess it's a bit like a game of Chinese whispers, isn't it? So someone might pass on what they think is the message, but they've changed it a little bit, and then someone else changed it a little bit more, and before you know where you are, the company's objectives are entirely different from how they started.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, everyone will probably resonate with this. We've all done this test, I'm sure, in primary school, where the teacher did the simple test and gave a message to the first person in the circle, and then their job was simply to pass on that message to the person on the right of them. Yeah. And as you go around the class, the message that you get told once you've gone around the 20 people is a very different message to the one that started out.
Well, I was always the kid in the middle who completely changed it and fully understood what was being passed on, but completely changed it. But look, given that this is the problem, how do you solve it then? What's the answer to getting things back on track and getting that focus back again?
Yeah. So first of all, it starts with being aware. And a very quick way to be aware of this issue is walk around the business, which is what a CEO and a senior management team should be doing every day anyway. But simply walk around the business and start having conversations with your staff. If they can't give you a very clear articulation of what it is, you've got your answer there that there's something missing, and you'll know it within 5 minutes. If the first 5 people you talk to and you get 5 different answers, you've got an issue to solve. And the important thing is, if you get this right, you'll have much better staff engagement. Sales will increase dramatically because you'll also attract the right customers who believe in what you believe as well. And so that's the first bit. Acknowledge that you actually have a fuzzy why, a fuzzy purpose. One of the top 5 things that always comes back in every staff survey is we don't have a clear understanding of where the business is going, let alone our own, what we're responsible for in our own little role. So first and foremost, understand, do you have a fuzziness, a gap in the business? And then what you need to then do is say, right, okay, let's regroup as a senior management team. Let's update this. Let's rediscover it, if you like, and put it into very plain words that, 2 or 3 sentences that would explain exactly why this business was created and what type of cause you're trying to progress. Then you need to make sure that you then go through a process of articulating that across the business. And you literally need to have this spread around on the wall, on the website, and everything you do. And one of the things that we find works really well is you create what's called a situation room, where you have that big question. Whatever that question is that the business was set up to solve, that's on the wall. And then you build into your routine with the management team and the supervisor team below that, and etc. And you have this in the tea room. This is the big problem we're trying to solve, and then you ask everybody to spend a bit of time each week at random times just to come in and just focus on that big question. Now, the big question, when you're asking yourself, how are we going to solve this, it throws off a whole bunch of other questions that have to be solved in order to get to that fundamental answer. And it's not something that you can just complete in a week or a year. A lot of these questions you will solve sequentially, and every question you solve will get you towards the end game.
Right.
But just by getting the whole team and the whole organisation focused around answering and solving a whole bunch of questions that all tie up, it's like a pyramid, that all tie up to that fundamental big question, will pay off in spades. And that's what you start out with. You start out with the one big question, and then over the weeks and months to come, you'll end up with a pyramid of other sub-questions that need to be solved. And that process just helps cement the whole purpose in the team in the first place, but then ensures that it's not just words on a wall. You're continually working at it, and out of that will come new service lines, new solutions, better ways to market yourself, better ways to recruit the right people. And that process continues, and will ensure that it's always embedded and it won't get fuzzy.
So this a situation room you're calling, it sounds like there's some sort of police
inspiration room.
Inspiration room. I was going to say, a situation room makes it sound like it's some sort of police incident and it's all been roped off and you can't go to work for a couple of weeks. But this inspiration,
describe it more like an inspiration room.
Inspiration room. Okay. So the ideas, if you're looking and you're doing a bit of brainstorming and trying to find solutions, is it possible you're going to come out with the whole reason for the business being very different from how it started? I mean, you may be starting to say, well, okay, we need to make sure everyone's got the same focus, but you go through this whole process and then think, well, actually, the focus is different from where the business started, but it's more relevant to today.
Yeah, and it ties in with, and that's exactly right, Phil. The original purpose can change as you go, because you may well have, for instance, you may well have solved the big problem that you were trying to solve in the first place. So you need to try and reinvent, a cause to rally the troops behind, or it simply might, have changed over the years. And as the market moves and you see a bigger opportunity to do more good, whatever it is that you're in business to do. So that process and having that inspiration room ensures that people are continually thinking about why are we here. And out of that process comes much more stronger strategies, and it's a bit of a mind trick as well. Having these things on a wall visually, as opposed to just being discussed in meetings, penetrates a different part of the brain than what audio does. So you have a combination of these things, and they're more likely to stick. But having it visually means that people are more likely to remind themselves to think about it, spend time thinking about it, and if you get the whole workforce all behind that one thing, you're going to have a lot more ideas coming out of the floor or from the floor than, and not just have to rely on management to come up with all the ideas all the time.
Right. Okay, the inspiration room. Get yourself lots of sticky labels to stick on the walls and lots of marker pens and get started. Makes perfect sense. It's good to knock ideas around, isn't it? Michael Fingland, appreciate your time.
Thanks, Phil.
And you know there are going to be some people who go, this is all touchy-feely stuff. Haven't got time for that. I've got so much work on. I just can't spend time on this sort of thing. But of course, it is crucial to the business. What is the business about? There's not a more fundamental question you can ask. And if you don't understand that, how are you going to make the sales? That's it for the Vantage Performance podcast for this time. Back again soon. I'm Phil Dobbie. Thanks for listening.